Today is November 26, 2022. Last night when Justin got home, he asked me to be in prayer over New Stream businesses. So this morning in my prayer time, I asked the Lord if he wanted me to see or hear anything. And this is what I saw and heard this morning. The vision I got started out as peering out an aerial view over, I think, the horizon of a valley. And I could see in this valley, it was sort of outstretched before me. And I can look down and I can see sort of some like snaked water channels, but they were not moving. They were just sort of snaked in and out of each other, a small portion of this land, not even filling the whole valley, but just the small portion. And then I can sort of just see, it wasn't desert as in desert sand, but it was drier land. It sort of had, if I could describe it, there's like a stretch of road in Nevada that is flat and has like these almost like tumbleweed type, before they become the tumbleweed, those type of like plants or whatever all over. Anyway, it was actually very beautiful what I saw from the aerial view. And then I saw sort of a mountain range off in the back where the sun was either coming up or coming down. I don't know if it was what it was doing there, but anyway, and I can actually see off in the distance that there was really, this was like basically bare land, except for this one part of the land. I could see that there was some sort of like plant or factory. And there were two like type silo things. And they were sort of in the shape of like a hurricane lamp, but they were white. And they had smoke coming out the top. And then I can see sort of all around this plant were houses. So it wasn't like it was homes of just anybody. I believe it was people who worked at this plant. And then the next thing that I saw was, I looked down and there were two glass doors that opened at the bottom of the silo type things. And people were coming out. And so you can see that maybe most likely they had gotten off of work or whatever, and they were coming out of these places and they were going home. At this point, I saw a group of people actually walking up a road that kind of went up. And you can see that there was a house on top of this mountain, and these people were walking up this mountain. And there were three men and a woman, and the woman was in the back, and she had long, straight black hair, and she was carrying a baby. It was kind of a newer baby, and the baby was tired, and it wanted to go to sleep in her arms. And as they walked up to the top of this house, I could see that it was Emmanuel, Tim, and John. When they went inside this house, it was really beautiful. It was like outside, and the woman, she was wearing like a green sweater. I think like blue pants or something. Anyway, when they went inside this house, the outside was like a dark wood house. And the front had like open windows, and the sides had like windows and stuff. But it was like, when you walked in, to the left was like a really high fireplace, kind of at the lodge, at the Manitou Lodge. There's that big fireplace, and on either side there's a door. It was like that, but there was just windows on the other sides. And that was off to the left, so there was like a little living room area. But when you walked right in, there was like a kitchen off to the right back, a small kitchen, and then in the middle there was a circular table. And I saw the men kind of come up and hang their coats, and then I saw them come and sit at this table, and the woman too. They all sat at this circular table, and then in the middle of this table was, I don't know what they're called, but it's like a replica of something, like, I'm spacing what the word is, but a miniature type replica. And this was also an area of land, but it very clearly, the Lord was showing me that it had already been established in ways, like there were businesses and homes and all kinds of different things. Like he was showing me a lot of businesses, mainly, and they were kind of throughout this circular land. And so I can see that they're about business here. I can see that they're talking about different things and pointing at different things and moving different things. But very specifically, I watched him, and there's like this building. It almost looks like a hospital to me. And he takes this item that I believe the Lord is saying, using it as a covering, but it reminds me of like that metal carport that you put over like an RV, like a really big RV. It looks like that to me. That's sort of what it looks like, but it's, I think, to represent a covering. Anyway, he takes this and he kind of drags it along the ground of this miniature or whatever. And it's actually tearing up the terrain of it and making it into like dirt, like loose dirt. Anyway, and he drags this covering over the hospital and he turns it like you would turn like a knob, and it's sort of like it's uprooting the building. And then he pushes down on the covering and crushes it quite a few times, like turns and crushes it and turns and crushes it until it's kind of rubble and there's no more. And then he removes it. And you could see that there was like clear ground where something could be put or built, like a foundation. You can put it, usually it reminds me of watching my dad build houses, how you get everything out of the way and it's just like soft dirt ready to have a foundation poured. Anyway, it was kind of like that. And then as I saw this blank, dark soil, this dirt sitting there, the Lord brought me to a real life situation that happened a while back, maybe a couple months ago, at one of our meetings at Tim and Rachel's house. Tim had laid seed or sod or something to grow grass in his front yard. And he just let all of us know as we were coming to make sure that we stayed on the path so that we didn't walk on the seeds or soil, so that we didn't ruin it. So that was something that he brought to my mind. And then it went into a vision from there. And I think Tim had hung up some sort of string sort of off of the road originally, like in real life, to kind of block people from going there. Or maybe it was there before, I don't know. But in this vision, it was like a chain fence. It was just like one post, and in between was a chain, and it was right by their backyard fenced area. Anyway, and he was sitting on it, and you could tell that he was sitting there, with the purpose of protecting the seeds that were growing into grass. And so he would sit there and watch. And then as people passed by, he would just watch them, like making sure they weren't going to go in here. He didn't cause a stir or anything. And even when people would come, like needed to go into the house, he would kind of direct them to go into the steps. And then there was like a couple that were coming to go to the office. And so he kind of like put his hand behind them and kind of directed them to pointed them to the office, just to make sure that nobody was walking where this seed had been planted. And then at this point, he was back over by where the chain fence was, and he got down on his knees and he started to examine the grass that was growing. He did this for quite a while, actually. He was looking the grass over repeatedly on every side, every angle. It was just quite an ordeal. Like he was looking at something for a purpose. And then I very clearly heard, I think it was four words I heard in this order. I need to go look at it just a minute. No, it's 5 words. The first word I heard was electrical. Then I heard ingenuity, conduit, engineering. So I very clearly heard those words spoken. And I don't know anything about science or anything like that, but it seemed very sciencey to me having to do with water or something. I don't know. As an energy source or something. I actually have no idea. I just got this like sense of energy from water or something. I honestly don't know. I just wanted to put that out there because it ran through my head, but I don't know anything about science. Anyway, at this point, it went back to the vision in the house on the hill. And everybody at the table actually got up and went out this side door over by the kitchen. And it went onto this deck that was kind of wrapped around the front of the house. And so they walked out and they were kind of looking at things and pointing at things. Excuse me. And looking at the land, talking again, just like they had done over the little miniature. And Justin was actually out there and he was kind of leaning up against the front of the house, kind of with his arms crossed, leaning against it, waiting. Like he wasn't frustrated, but he had been waiting. And when everybody saw him, he walked up to everybody, and in his hand, he opened his hand, and in his hand, he had like fuses from a car. And when all of the men saw these fuses, they were like so excited. So excited. And everybody took a fuse, and they actually ate and swallowed the fuse, or just put it in their mouth and swallowed the fuse. And they were very grateful to Justin. Like they hugged him, and they patted him on. It was like a brotherly, hugs and like pushes, just like a friendly, loving embrace. And in fact, Tim, when he was hugging Justin, got very emotional actually, and like wiped tears from his eyes, and they were just so happy. Anyway, and then after that happened, they turned and they faced the land. And now it was like Tim had taken this, it looked like a cup to me, actually. It looked like a Solo red cup. But anyway, and he just took the cup, and he, from the mountain range to where the horizon was, took this cup and drug it along. And he was still up at the top of the mountain house. But he took it and drug it along the ground, and it actually picked up the dirt of the ground. And it was like a canal. Like he took it throughout the land, and he began to drag it and make these like canals that all connected to one another and flowed throughout the whole land. And then after he did this, like some sort of water broke through the mountains and went into all these channels of water, and went into all these places and filled the valley with water. And then at the very end of this vision, I heard the word spiritual conduit. And that was the end of the vision.